garden, everyone. This garden will be a year old next month, and there's about 55 families growing here.
Yay!
It's so important to do this in your own communities, and if any of you are interested in learning how to create a community garden, I will let you know the ropes and everything involved. This is on private land, and the owner of this property actually owns the house next door as well. And the director of the garden, Kip Wood, he found a for rent sign on the property, on this vacant lot, and so he called some people in, and I was one of the first people who signed up, and I've been working to create the garden with him. It took us a while because we had a lot of soil issues, and it became a prototype community garden for all the LA community gardens, where they started to realize how important it is to test the soil. It's very important to do that, and a lot of people weren't doing that. And when I recently went out to the city repair, the first place that we went into was this community garden that way in the back there was a big mound of toxic soil that was fenced in that had a high amount of lead. And what this woman has been doing over the course of 2 years is she started to research what are the plants that take out lead. And so all these plants are now growing in that pile, removing the lead so that it can feed the garden again afterwards. And I think that that's really what a beautiful example of permaculture, because you're not really doing a lot of waste. And so anyway, I'd like to tell you that I'm really happy to have here Anthony Anderson today. He's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I originally found him through my raw foodie friends. And I said, cool, you know. And so, but then what happened over time is he was posting all these posts about permaculture and about growing food and in just a variety of very interesting topics. And so also in his YouTube videos, you'll notice that, you know, what really calls me to him is he really speaks from the heart. He really gets it. He's very connected to nature, and you can tell that by I'm sure the presentation he'll give today. So let's give a warm welcome to Anthony Anderson for coming to the Venice Community Garden. Okay?
Thanks, Norma.
A lot of fun.
Big hands from Norma and everything she's doing. This is awesome. This is really what it's about, for sure. I mean, we can be doing so much stuff, you know, in the countryside too, but really what matters is what was happening in the city, in the urban centers, because no matter what, that's where people are going to be living for a really long time unless things get super crazy. And we need to establish real solid food systems that are going to feed people and give us medicine, give us food, heal the earth, provide just a beautiful garden for our kids to live in, and doing it here in the urban centers is really important. The reason why I'm wearing a tie is kind of a little thing to get people thinking that sometimes in our community we can see people wearing suits and ties and power suits and, you know, doing the 9-to-5 thing, and it can be kind of a judgment trip. And I've gone through this thinking that people are a little, you know, kind of out to lunch and they just don't get it yet, and almost thinking that I'm better than them because I know about gardening, I know about permaculture, and that's the exact crappiest attitude to have, because we're all brothers and sisters in this, and people that are in that way of life, if we can turn them on to this, I mean, what the resources that they have, and I mean, if they come from their heart space and they have these resources, it's just an amazing mix, and they can do so much more than maybe, you know, a 19-year-old guy in his mom's basement reading Karl Marx or something. You know, like there's a big difference, and there's a lot of potential. But there's a lot of judgment too, so I just kind of want to get that out there, that we can still be, you know, dressing like this and maybe have short hair. I had to cut my hair for something, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that we can do, and we're all brothers and sisters in this, and we can really get it done a lot faster if we come from love, instead of kind of thinking that it's us and them, and they need to speed up, and they're not evolved yet, and they're eating weird food. And so just by making it fun, and not even really coming from, you know, this and that, and little lessons, and it's just a lot more approachable for people. So I always try and really make it fun. I've got to send a big thanks to George Bush and all of his friends for scaring the hell out of me about 7 years ago. And getting me so angry to the point where I didn't know what to do, and I realized that the best possible thing I could do was plant a food forest. So in 2004, I was really kind of getting, waking up, reading the books. I finally had some free time. I got rid of my television. All the distractions were gone. Waking up into like green living, eating right, being a vegetarian, not wanting to eat factory foods. And I went to the 2004 Republican convention in New York City, and just seeing like the thousands and thousands of people protesting and all this stuff, and and asking permission to protest, and it just seemed like so much human energy and time. And whatever came of that, we were looking back 7 years ago now, and whatever came from all that, all those people there, and I was thinking, what if all those people were to put their energy into planting permaculture gardens? How much more revolutionary would that be than just walking down the street with a sign trying to get Monsanto to stop doing something, and there's a part for that, and the internet's really good for that, for spreading consciousness. But as far as real things that we can do, it's really about thinking about our tribe, and like mom, dad, our sisters, our friends, lovers, and building these communities, building these gardens, and replanting paradise in our own yard first, for sure. It's like that saying on an airplane, in case of emergency, take care of yourself first and then help the person next to you. It's really like that. And that's the beauty of the community garden, is that that just expands to, and it gets 53 families into helping themselves, and then they tell their friends, and it just like, it's such a prime time for this, and just that everybody's really waking up to it. And no matter what, it's like you look at the side of darkness and you look at the side of light, and everything is pointing towards doing this. Like Monsanto doing all their crazy stuff, and like all the ag, big ag with the food, and the crazy, just nuts. And then you have people like this doing all this stuff. It's all telling us to do this. Those are teachers too. George Bush was a teacher for me, because he got me inspired by fear in a way to plant my own food forest. And now 4 or 5 years later, I'm so glad that I did, instead of kind of waiting around thinking that I had to read more books. And I started the food forest in 2008. The spring of 2008. I've been planning for about 2 years before that, and this is in Minnesota, so it's totally different from this climate. I'm really kind of stuck in the seasons up there. I maybe from Mother's Day until Halloween are your kind of like growing times, and you can definitely stretch that out with a greenhouse. But compared to this, like, the potential is just so much more here. I mean, your figs are going to grow year-round almost. Where I get maybe like 5 months of growth, and then they go back to sleep. So being here is like a huge opportunity to see some really quick results. And I think how this has only been here for a year, and it's like super legit already, that just is a testament that shows how fast things happen in California in all ways. Same with bees too. Like my bees, they go to sleep 6 months a year. They just kind of hang out, and that's 6 months where they're not productive. I could maybe put them in the back of my car and drive them down here or something, but and I've had to do that too. But just the fact that you're here, it's a really good opportunity. You got full year-round production, harvesting honey and pollen. I just started harvesting pollen for the first time this year, and that's a really cool idea, because you don't have to wait so long. I mean, pollen, it's coming in all the time, and then you just 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off, and it's a good product. And I'm doing some stuff talking with a woman that's organizing this thing down in Colombia, where she's trying to get the native Creole people in the jungles to change their farming activities, like it's the more like mainstream agriculture, into more of a food forest paradigm. And then she's wondering what kind of products they can use to get funds going and start producing from their thing. And I told her the number one thing would really be bee products, because you can start getting pollen right away, and you can get honey pretty fast, and then that way it's just like a year-round production, compared to waiting for the macadamia nuts to produce, in 15 years, things like that.